Thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you're a Corvette enthusiast, you know some models were rare in production. Some of these rarer Corvettes began their journey with high-end fabricators, making them the pinnacle of collectability for serious collectors. In this episode, we'll discuss some of the rarest Corvettes to roam the streets. Number 8. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88. The 1960s was the muscle car decade, and Corvette, having been in production since 1953, had established itself as a premier American sports car. However, there was a need to push the performance boundaries as the muscle cars had started acquiring high-end features. With 1967 being the first year of the L88 production, Chevy produced only 20 units. The units were designed with racing in mind and priced higher than the standard Corvettes. At first glance, the 1967 Chevy Corvette L88 looks like any other C2 Corvette, but these L88 Corvettes were extraordinary due to GM's mighty 427 cubic inch big block V8 engine. The engine came with a forged steel cross-drilled crankshaft, forged connecting rods, aluminum pistons, a higher compression ratio, a robust lifter camshaft, aluminum cylinder heads, and the largest Holley carburetor. Being a racing engine designed to use only high-octane fuel, it produced 430 horsepower. Many claim that the 67 Corvette L88's big block engine power was underrated. It actually produced nearly 580 horsepower, higher than competitors like the Mustang Shelby GT500 and Dodge Charger. Although Chevrolet built 20 units of the L88 in 1967, just half of them exist today. One fetched $3.4 million in 2013, while another sold for just under $2.7 million in a 2021 auction. Number 7. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L89. With muscle car rivalry at its peak in the mid-60s, GM's only option was to improve the performance of its new models. The engineers aimed to phase out the heavy iron block L71 engine with a lighter 427 cubic inch V8 engine featuring aluminum heads. The lighter L89 made the 1967 model accelerate faster, offer better handling, and improve fuel efficiency. At the time, the Corvette had a strong connection to racing, and the L89 option was aligned with Chevrolet's goal of producing cars that could compete effectively on the track. The performance benefits made it an attractive option for serious racers looking to gain a competitive edge. The L89 Corvette and every other C2 Corvette look the same to the average onlooker. However, underneath the L89's hood is a tri-power 427 cubic inch V8 that makes 475 horsepower, higher than the L88. Besides cutting the weight by roughly 75 pounds, the aluminum V8 engine also benefited from other goodies such as bigger exhaust valves and a radiator shroud that ensured you wouldn't overheat at every stoplight. Only 16 units of the L89 were produced during its first year, making it extremely rare in terms of production numbers. Number 6. 1971 Chevrolet Corvette ZR2. 1971 marked the beginning of stricter emission regulations in the United States. Due to these unfortunate crises, Chevy knew the lifetime of its gas-guzzling Corvette was limited, so it went all out. The 1971 Chevrolet Corvette ZR2 featured a 454 cubic inch LS6 V8 engine, argued to be similar to the one in the Chevelle SS. GM quoted that it only had 425 horsepower, but word has it that it actually produced more than 500 horsepower. The ZR2 package also included a Muncie M22 transmission, heavy-duty brakes, and larger anti-sway bars. Chevy produced only 12 units due to the fuel crisis that had led to a decline in demand for high-performance engines. Despite the regulations, the ZR2 Corvette clocked 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.3 seconds, and ran a quarter mile in 13.8 seconds. Due to its limited production and high-performance specifications, the 1971 Corvette ZR2 is a highly sought-after collector's item. 2 of the 12 units produced were convertibles, one of which went up for auction in 2019 with a $500,000 price tag. Number 5. 1968 to 1972 Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT Corvette. Built from 1968 to 1972, the Chevrolet Corvette Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT stands out as one of the rarest, with only 10 ever produced. Surprisingly, none were similar to the others, making these models one-of-a-kind collectibles. The story of the Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT Corvette is interesting. The 60s and early 70s were the peak of automotive culture when horsepower was king. Performance enthusiasts from the largest cities and the smallest rural towns duked it out in an attempt to have their cars crowned the best at giving punches. Most muscle cars of the era were customized to the extent that you would not have to look far to find an enthusiastic car owner swapping parts in their driveway in a bid to gain a competitive edge. For this reason, a nearly endless number of performance shops arose. The performance shops sought to oblige these would-be racers in their on- and off-track endeavors. Soon, an entire industry emerged that centered around catering to those who wished to take delivery of a race-ready car directly upon purchase without any additional work needed. Several dealership-affiliated custom car builders began to gain notoriety. However, one such high-performance shop stood above the rest with a reputation for producing custom Chevrolets so tenacious that few other vehicles on the road could compare. The dealership was Motion Performance, located in Baldwin, New York. Motion Performance partnered with Chevy to tailor each car to individual customer specifications, resulting in limited production numbers. Not only were the Phase 3 GT packages rare, but they were also high-performing and expensive. These models featured powerful engines, often the 427 or 454 cubic inch V8s, high-performance camshafts, cylinder heads, intake manifolds, carburetors, and exhaust systems. These options enabled buyers to order the units according to their taste, ranging from engine and suspension upgrades to unique paint schemes and interior modifications. Rumor has it that only 3 of these incredible custom Corvettes are believed to still exist today. Enthusiasts who are fortunate to have one can boast of having a unique Corvette in their collection. Unlike others, the Baldwin Motion Phase 3 GT may not look like a Corvette at first glance, until you get underneath its unique bodywork. That's when you'll notice it's a C3 Corvette. A few years back, a 1969 Phase 3 GT Baldwin Motion Corvette sold at a Mecum auction for $121,000. The price has risen as they're estimated to be worth around $800,000 today. Are you ready for our top 4 rarest Corvettes? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, which helps us create more automotive content. Number 4. 1971 Corvette ZR1 Coupe. Like the 1971 Corvette ZR2, the ZR1 Coupe faced a similar oil crisis and emission regulation challenges. Chevy wanted to retain the performance culture for the gearheads who loved throwing stronger punches, so it made the legendary 71 ZR1 Coupe. Under the ZR1's hood was the LT1 engine, a 350 cubic inch small block V8 that produced 330 horsepower. This engine was known for its high revving capability and solid lifter camshaft, contributing to its track performance. The small block engine featured an aluminum radiator and transistor ignition, and it was mated to a 4-speed transmission. Unfortunately, this car lacked many of the creature comforts of its lesser companions. Things like air conditioning and power windows were left out for those who preferred performance over comfort. The only remarkable features were body-color roof panels, a removable rear window, rally wheels, and a luggage rack. Only 8 1971 Corvette ZR1s were built, making them highly sought-after commodities. The last original 71 Corvette ZR1 sold at auction nearly a decade ago at Barrett-Jackson for $220,000. Another unit sold for $400,000 in a 2017 sale. Number 3. 1963 Corvette Grand Sport. In February 1963, GM imposed a self-ban on factory-supported racing. This resulted from increased pressure from the AMA, government, insurance companies, and safety organizations, and all race sponsorships came to a grinding halt. Having participated in past races, Zora Arkus Duntov, the father of Corvette, couldn't bear the brunt. He secretly built the Grand Sport Corvette to compete with Ford, Ferrari, and other manufacturers on the world racing stage. After it was discovered that Duntov was building the cars, the program was shut down, and he was reprimanded for the decision. Before that happened, Duntov had successfully built 5 examples of the incredible GS racer. The 63 Corvette Grand Sport was a powerhouse, and it wasn't long before GM considered using it to bolster the performance of other race-developed vehicles. Duntov had equipped this ultra-rare 1963 Corvette Grand Sport with an all-aluminum 377 cubic inch V8, making 550 horsepower. It had a modified body and made other weight reduction improvements to enhance performance during the race. The 5 cars eventually raced, beating the Cobras at the 1963 Nassau Grand Prix, but GM put its foot down due to the racing ban. The cars were all sold off to various drivers, including Roger Penske, who won the 1964 Nassau Trophy race with his. All 5 Corvette Grand Sport units still exist today, and each is a highly coveted collectible, demanding millions of dollars. Replica Corvette Grand Sport models also emerged and sell for over $100,000. Number 2. 1969 Corvette ZL1. General Motors decided to limit the 69 Corvette ZL1 production to 2 units to meet racing requirements. The 1969 Corvette ZL1 is an extremely rare and sought-after model primarily because of its all-aluminum 427 cubic inch V8 engine. This engine was incredibly expensive to produce and was initially intended for racing purposes rather than mass production for regular consumer vehicles. The ZL1 was a mid-year engine release for the 69 Corvette and was slated to replace the legendary L88. It was lighter, weighing about the same as the L46 small block. Also worth noting is that it was a joint venture between Chevrolet and McLaren for use in the SCCA's Canadian-American Challenge Cup Series. Besides the aluminum material, it boasted stouter connecting rods and open chamber heads that flowed better than the L88's. The ZL1 engine was officially rated at 430 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque, but was later discovered to have an output of 585 horsepower. These hand-built ZL1 options sold for $4,718. The ZL1 option also required a handful of mandatory options: F41 special front and rear suspension, $36.90, G81 positive traction rear axle, $46.35, J56 special heavy-duty brakes, $384.45, and K66 transistorized ignition, $81.10, raising the total price of the package to $5,267.15. With a high price tag, not many ZL1s were produced. Word has it that at an Sotheby's auction, one of these incredibly rare ZL1 models crossed the block and sold for $3.14 million. True or not, the car would certainly be worth multiples of that today. Number 1. 1963 Corvette Rundine. The 1963 Corvette Rundine was a concept car designed by Italian coach builder Pininfarina on the chassis of a 1963 Corvette. It was produced as a one-off prototype that debuted at the 1963 Paris Motor Show to showcase GM's design and engineering prowess. The Corvette Rundine featured several identifiable Pininfarina design elements wrapped around the proportions of the factory Stingray. Although the car looks more like a Ferrari than a Chevy, the underpinnings remain true to the second-generation Corvette C2, making this beauty a one-of-a-kind hybrid of Italian design and American muscle. The Rundine is a two-door coupe with a front-positioned engine. Its unique design and sleek, aerodynamic lines set it apart from the standard production Corvette of that era. The car had a naturally aspirated 327 cubic inch small block V8 that produced 304 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque, and was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission. After stealing the show at the Paris Motor Show, it lived in Pininfarina's museum until 2008, when it was purchased at auction by a private collector for a modest sum of just $1.6 million. Thanks for watching. Which of these 8 rarest Corvettes is your favorite? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release new content.